All right, y'all. So sorry about that. It looks like I am about 15 minutes late. My apologies. Today's been a crazy day, and I just misplanned. I'm not even gonna not even gonna blame the day. I literally just did piss poor planning today, and I'm gonna take accountability for that. But I want to continue to come up here weekly and do a live because that was the goal that I set for myself this year, and I want to stick to the goal. I am working on having things done versus not doing them. Um, and yeah, that's my goal. Let me see. Is my audio on? Hello? Hello? Hopefully. Hopefully this is working. Hold on. Just checking some things, making sure that my streaming. Oh, well, you know what? I don't think I can change it now because I'm already started. Yeah, because I've already started. Anyway, hopefully this is fine. If there's any problems with like the delay or the sound, please let me know. Hopefully everything is broadcasting correctly. Thank you, Zelda. That was freaking me out. Okay. Anyway, today I am sewing McCalls 8194. I have been meaning to sew this pattern for a very long time. Probably at least a couple of years since this pattern is sort of old. I don't have a lot of light in this side of the room, but hopefully you can see that. It's an old pattern. It got sold a bunch. You should be pretty familiar with it. I decided to sew it tonight on live because I'm just meaning to. And theoretically, this should be, trying to get a little bit better lighting. Theoretically, this should be a really easy pattern to sew. It's just front, back, sleeves, band. I do want to do BB, the color block version, because I think that that is cute. I love a color blocked anything. I am using some rib knit that I grabbed as remnants from Walmart. So this first one is sort of like a neutral tan color, and then the other one is black. And I think I got both of these as 2-yard remnants from Walmart for like $4. So it's super cheap. So if this don't turn out as cute as I think it does in my head, I don't care. The other thing that I love about this dress, because I have tested a very similar dress by True Bias. I think it's called the Quinn. Or was the Quinn the Vestra? Either way, it was super cute. I like it. I would recommend you get that one, especially if you're into supporting indie pattern makers, because it is a really great pattern. They call for true buttons, and this one doesn't. Now, truth be told, I could just go back and do the True Bias one and just sew the front overlaps together and then stitch on fake buttons, which is what this pattern has you do. But I wanted to try this pattern out too because I've already sewn the other one. Anyway, I think this, well, these are the two front pieces. I, just like last week, am behind, so I have to cut out a couple of pieces as we go. But we can start with the front and the back because that's all I got cut out. If we look at the front and back piece together, you can see that this is what it's going to look like. And I just think this is a really good color combination. I usually go for much bolder color combos like red and pink, or black and white, higher contrast, or like, you know, I don't know, more yellow and blue or something like that. But for this one, I think the two neutral colors is going to be really versatile. You can either wear it with black shoes or brown shoes, accessorize whatever pop of color you want. Like, I think it's going to be a little bit more interesting, even though it's boring. So... Oh, wait, is the other picture not moving? Is it not picking the right thing? Hold on. Let me see. I might just take the picture and picture off because I don't know that it's adding a whole lot anyway. Oh, yep. I need to sew it on this side. So let me just move this that way. That will also work. Yeah. So yeah, this is McCalls. It's 8194. It's an older McCalls pattern. Why am I having such a hard time with it? It's an older McCalls pattern, but I do really like it. View B is this midi length. View C is full length, and I guess this is above the knee. I didn't know if I quite wanted it as short as View A, but I wanted it a little, I definitely didn't want it long. I also don't know if I want to do the half sleeves like they have on this one, or if I want to do the long sleeves like on View A. I'm going to cut out the longer sleeve, I think, and just finish it from there. Our temps are probably going to start warming up in Atlanta, hopefully soon. But this rib knit is so thin that I don't think it being long sleeve will prevent me from wearing it like in the spring. It's already not the most springy-est of colors, so there's that. But I think this will sort of work year-round. Like I said already, I've done a piss-poor job of planning today, and for that I apologize. But I really want to hold myself accountable to doing these weekly lives, like I said, so I'm going to do it anyway. There's not a lot of pieces. There's only 4 pieces, 5 pieces anyway, and I've cut out 2. The sleeve is on the table ready to be cut out, and then I just need to do the band, and I think there's a band for the back and then one for the front. So technically that's 2 more pieces. I had to get my nails done today. Okay. So I sort of forgot about that. Hold on, let me show you my nails, but I need better lighting. I have 2 lights, but my sewing room is so dark that I would actually benefit from having a third. Anyway, these are my nails. Can you see them? Oh no, what is going on with this picture? Actually, you know what? I'm just going to cut that off because I don't think that that's really helping anyway. So let me go back and see if that does anything. Can you see my nails? There's definitely a delay on my screen. I don't know if it's something that I'm doing in my settings that are wrong, but it's like it's buffering even on my end. So I'm gonna dig into that, y'all. Apologies, but I saw my nail girl today and I got my nails done. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm sort of behind. Because I sort of forgot I had that appointment. All right, let me. I'm gonna have to figure out in the future how to increase my streaming quality because something's definitely going on here that I don't quite understand. Oh, I think I hit pause. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna keep on going. All right. So the first step is going to be, well, I need to rethread my machine again. Sorry, y'all. I'm so off today. Here's the thing with color blocking, right? It can be tricky because you have 2 different colors that are coming together, and theoretically, like your seaming should be pretty invisible. Your stitching should be pretty invisible anyway, but it's like, what thread color do you choose, right? Because here at the center back seam is going to be the tan and black butting up against each other. So here it could sort of be either, but when I attach the black side to the black side, and then when I attach the tan side to the tan side, do I want it to be the same color? And if I do, does that mean I need to thread one machine with black and one machine with tan, or am I literally going to go back and forth between black and tan? What I do know for a fact is that I don't need this pink that's in my machine right now. That was what I sewed last week on live, which was McCalls 8383. You can watch that on the channel as well if you like. I did get that one finished in time, and I was behind on that one as well. Anyway, I don't need this. So I'm going to put this back up here on my lovely thread wall, and I believe that this, yep, is pretty much exactly this color. Great. I have yet to fall victim to Joann's being out of business, so let's hope that that continues. Somewhere in my stash I've had what I needed, which probably just means I have too much stuff, honestly. All right, so I'm just gonna get this threaded real quick because for this back seam, I think I don't care, and I'm just gonna use the tan color. When it gets to the black on black, I think I might switch to just black thread. Now my serger is already lined or like threaded with like a mixture of browns and tans. So that's what's gonna go on the inside because I do not feel like changing that serger to black. We saw what happened when I changed my serger thread last time. It's gonna be all right. All right, so this is the center back pieces, and I'm just sewing them together at the back. I am using a straight stitch because the seam will not be pulled in this direction vertically, even though there is some stretch in the vertical direction. It's not really going to affect it. Plus, I'm going to go back over it with the serger, so no worries there. Let me know if you would rather see me talking to you. You can do this either live or after. If you'd rather see me talking to you sort of from this angle, or whether you would like for me to flip the camera around and show you the way that I was sewing. That's sort of why I was trying to use the picture-in-picture so that I could do a little bit of both at the same time. And I may try that again, but I feel like maybe I just don't understand my software enough to correctly do that. So anyway, yeah. If you are watching live, are you having a good day? How was your day? It's Wednesday. It's hump day. How's the week been going so far? My week has been a little bit busy, which is a good thing, I guess. My 9-to-5 job had been sort of slow since the start of the year, but things are definitely starting to pick up, which is good in a way because it keeps you busy and engaged. I really am trying to focus on keeping this series because it'll allow me to sew at least one new thing a week, which if you saw my fabric stash, you would see why that's important. So I'm going to try to continue doing that. I also want to bring just some more YouTube content in general. So let me know what kind of things you would like to see. Like what kind of things do you like to watch on YouTube? I watch all kinds of random stuff on YouTube, not just sewing. So I'd just be curious to know what everybody else watches. Oh, I didn't get my music playing either. Hold on. I opened YouTube and then didn't get it going. Yes, both the tan and the black fabric are rib knits that I grabbed from Walmart. They were rib knits. Sorry, I'm trying to get the music on. They are rib knits, and so it's a very fine rib knit. They're also very stretchy. Both of the rib knits are sort of thin as well, which I can't be mad about because, again, I think I got 2 yards for $4, 2 yards of the tan, 2 yards of the black. And so I was just going to make like maybe a t-shirt with them, but when I thought about this pattern, I was like, oh, well, I can use the 2 yards of each to make this color block version, because I think the pattern calls for, even in the largest size, a 24, it calls for 1 5/8 yard of both fabrics. And so, like I said, I had 2 yards. So I have the tan, which I don't know if you can see in my bad lighting. It's definitely a rib knit, and the black is as well, which I'm sure you can't see in this dark room. I have my lights on. I promise you can see them. It's just, that's how dark it is in my sewing space. It's a miracle I get anything done. All right. Let me get my needle back centered. 5/8 of an seam allowance. I'm simply sewing the 2 back pieces together with a straight stitch. Thank you. I'm really hoping that this comes out cute. I have been wanting to sew this dress for a long time. Since my mic is on, I hope you can hear me over my loud machine. I've been wanting to sew this for a long time, and for some reason it's always got pushed to the back. I had different fabric picked out at one point, but like I said, once I got this fabric, I thought that these 2 would be good. I also have a red fabric, so I really thought about doing red and black because y'all know I love red. So I really thought about doing a red and black, but something about the 2 neutral colors of these made me think that it would work really well together. And I saw a similar dress on Pinterest or Amazon or something. I also, it's hard for me to pass up a Walmart remnant because they're so cheap that even if this doesn't turn out well, because I do think they're a little thin, even if this doesn't turn out great, it's like together $8 worth of fabric, so I don't really care. It'll be a good muslin if nothing else. So yeah. Now hopefully I can get through this tonight. It is not a very difficult pattern, but again, I am just running behind today. I'm just literally a mess. So wait, what are y'all doing?
Some of y'all might know it.
Okay, I'm trying to find a YouTube playlist that is not going to get me in trouble for syndication, but also not something that's going to show me. I'm in my wrong YouTube account, so I'm getting commercials and I don't want commercials. Let me find a quick DJ set. See, we got a neo soul something. We're gonna let that play. All right, but yeah, so that's all that I'm doing is stumbling together this thing. Hopefully I can get to finish. This is what I was trying to say, sorry. And then I'm gonna need you guys to help me pick buttons, because picking buttons is like the hardest thing to me. And if you're local to Atlanta, you know that Fabric World shut down, and when they were shutting down, I found about it way too late when they closed, and all they really had left was buttons. They had all their buttons for a penny a buttons, so I cannot begin to tell you how many buttons I now have. I probably bought 400 or 500 buttons that day, in addition to the ones that I already had. It's ridiculous. Melody and Zelda, if you're still here, how is your week going? Have you been sewing anything? How's 2026 been treating you? Most people feel really crazy talking to themselves on these kind of solo lives, and I do prefer doing lives with other people. It's a lot more interesting, but I'm a Gemini. I could probably hold a whole conversation with myself, which is probably pretty alarming. This is the center back and the center front. One thing I will say about this rib knit is it's really sort of hard to tell which side is the right side and which side is the wrong side, which means whatever side I say it is. So here is the back already coming together. Right, so that looks good. I need to sew the front to either side and then to the shoulders. So I would take my camera over to the table, but that takes more time and it requires moving. Just trust me, I'm taking, this is the wrong side, you can see the seam. I am taking the right side up on my table, and then I'm going to put the right side down of the front piece that I have, and I'm just going to start pinning the front to the back at the side seam and at the shoulders, but we're going to start with the side seam. So this has to match whichever way I cut it. So we're going to find the armhole. Yep, that's the armhole portion, and we are going to take this double notch, match it up with the double notch on the dress. Hopefully, if I can stay consistent enough with doing these lives on Wednesdays, hopefully you guys will start like tuning in. I'll give you much more notice than I have been. I'm just really trying to get into the routine of everything right now, and we can hopefully sew this together. Like, wouldn't that be fun? I would love to sew with you guys. I mean, right now I've been giving like 24-hour notice. I barely had enough time to cut this and get this prepped myself, let alone for anybody else to. But going forward, I want to start like taking polls and surveys and seeing what you guys want to sew. Like I said, starting off with fairly easy patterns. This one isn't super easy, but it's definitely not hard. Good evening, Catrice. Hey, Melody. Oh, jeans. Jeans are one thing that I haven't tackled, Melody. It's not that, I mean, I've made denim pants, so, I mean, I've sewn denim, but I haven't done an actual pair of, like, fly, zip, button, waistband belt loops. It's jeans. Is that true? Yes, that's true. So, kudos to you. That's impressive. I think mostly because exactly what you said, I would need to do a good muslin, and I hate making muslins. Sorry. Not sorry. I just do. What jeans are you making? What pattern are you using? Because I really want to try. Did you say it? I just didn't read. Hold on. This would be your first pair. Okay, cool. I I don't make a lot of changes to my pattern. Hold on. Let me rephrase that, Melody. I didn't used to make a lot of changes to my patterns to make them fit. For some reason, I just sort of kind of fit in the basic pattern of like indie patterns and the big five. However, I'll say this: I've gained a lot of weight. When I first started sewing, I was probably like 150 pounds or something like that. Right now I'm like 220, so that's a big change. So I went from sewing like 12s and 14s in patterns to now sewing like 24s in patterns, which is just life, stress, COVID, all the things. I'm gonna work on getting that back down to, I guess, a slightly more reasonable number, but I will not be 150 again. Let's let that go. That being said, I do have to make a little bit more adjustments now. Some things that I've always had to do, I don't have hips. Okay, wait, let me start at the beginning. I've always had to grade between sizes. So my top has always been smaller than my bottom, right? I always had a smaller bust than I had hips, because I don't have hips. I do got a little bit of butt though. That came with the weight. So right now, like this pattern in particular, I did a 22 in the shoulders and bust, and then I did a 24 in the waist and hips. Now I'm gonna have to take those hips in a little bit, because you know how patterns have your hips like this. My hips don't do that. I always have to take their curve and make it a little slighter. Now I didn't do that cutting it out, because I tend to like to try it on and then I just make whatever adjustment where exactly I think I needed it. If I was a more technical sewer, I guess, I would just go ahead and make that change on my pattern each time, so I didn't have to like try it on and then do it. But I don't do that. Another adjustment that I've almost always had to make is a sway back adjustment. Which is just like when you have the fabric pool at the back, like above your rear, you got like that, just like gathering of fabric. I usually do get that in a bodycon like dress. So I do usually have to make that. That's a very simple adjustment. I did that on this dress. I could show you how to do that the next time. Oh, okay. Now, so here's the thing. I do love closet core patterns by and large. Sometimes they make their patterns harder than they have to be. That's a whole different conversation. But in general, I do like closet core, and I don't typically have to make a lot of modifications to closet core. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. Like, I do have to make some, but none of mine are super major. As I've gained more weight and my bust is bigger, I think that I'm needing to make full bust adjustments, which I don't do. Hopefully I can find patterns in a bit larger range so that they have a D cup instead of a B cup as the standard. But yeah, I need to work on that. I don't actually know how to do a full bust adjustment quite yet, so I need to work on that or lose the weight. One or the other. The other thing that I do have to do in pants, especially more fitted pants, not so much if it's going to be a really wide leg pant. I didn't have to do it to the true, oh, did I do it to the true bias? Oh yeah, I don't think so. And I definitely didn't do it to the, what other patterns did I just test? The Jessalus Closets Thea wrap pants. I didn't do it to that either, but I do typically have to do a full seat adjustment. So basically lengthen the rise of the back crotch of pants if they're going to be especially woven and a non-stretch woven and fitted. Then I do have to make adjustments, which is why I don't make, well, I make a decent amount of pants. Yeah, you just really have to learn to embrace all the things that you may need to do, because sewing is about making the garment fit you, not you fitting into the garment. That is obviously the beauty of sewing. So yeah, you do just have to embrace it. And if there's something that is outside of normal proportions, I say that because what's a normal proportion, right? And you find yourself having to make that change a lot, it will start to become second nature to you, and it won't really feel like that much of a problem. As a matter of fact, you'll be able to take your measurements and compare them against the pattern, and you'll just be able to make that alteration yourself when you cut the fabric. You won't even have to do it afterwards, which is a place that I would like to get to. I could have done the hip curve on this without looking, because I pretty much know what my hip looks like now, but sometimes I just choose not to. Okay, so here's the question, y'all. Am I going to change? I do have multiple machines. Am I going to thread another machine with black thread? Am I going to go back and forth and go between tan and black thread here? These are the questions. Because I've started off with the tan thread in the machine. I attached the tan in black to the back. It will come. It will come. And then you learn which patterns, which you need and which you don't need. Like, I know a lot of, like, I don't even really measure anymore for the rise and the crotch that I have to do. I just add about an inch. Especially if it's a high-waisted pants, because there's probably like a little bit of extra built in there. But if it is, actually I don't make mid-rise pants, but like most of the time I know if I add about an inch, I'm good. I'm good. And here's another trick I learned many years ago from Debbie Crowling? What's her last name? Anyway, Debbie, who used to work at Simplicity, which was you can cut a pattern, especially a big 5 pattern, but it probably works for any patterns too. You can cut a pattern a different size for the front than you do the back. Let that sink in. Like, say, you know, you got a large rear, you got a booty. You can do a 16 back pant and a 14 front pant. Like, if you always end up with too much room, like, you know, saggy here, camel toe-ish, like, you can do that. And once you know what adjustments you need, then you can just do them easier going forward. I am not the best person for pants adjustments. I can make decent adjustments on pants. Aronica B. Cole is a great person to look out to if you want more fitting advice. She actually teaches a class on it here in Atlanta. She's really great at that. In her projector class, I know she shows you how to make some of those changes before you even like get to the fabric, because she'll make it in the projector file. I've got to take her class. Alright, so that was the very short shoulder seam. Now I'm going to do the side seam. This I'm doing because the tan is already in the machine, and now I have to decide how lazy I'm going to be about stitching. I feel like I have to switch to black thread to sew the black to the tan, y'all. I mean the black to the black. It doesn't really take that long, just change thread in a sewing machine. So. And if I wasn't connected to the camera and all the cords across my sewing table, I probably would just thread a second machine. Which, I don't know if you have 2 machines, but if you do have 2 machines, that can be really helpful when sewing jeans. Keep one machine loaded with your, you know, your regular thread to sew the jeans, and then keep a second machine loaded with your top stitching thread. If you happen to have 2 machines. I've heard that that really makes the steps a lot easier. Yes, you can do that. Now that, again, I'm not saying that if you mix your sizes that you're not going to still have to make some additional adjustments, but I learned that from Debbie when she was like, hey, you don't have to sew the same front as back, and the whole audience, like we were in person, the whole audience, I think, gasped, and she was like, oh God, we hit something. Okay, let's talk about it. I love Deb. But anyway, it can be a good starting point. Like, I know that I'm, I guess, smaller in my shoulders or something than the rest of my bust, so I almost always, I'm a size down up here. I always end up with too much room here, or like I could pull up like half an inch in the strap. So now I do sort of just make that adjustment before I start, especially if it's a knit that stretches in all directions, because it's definitely going to stretch too far here. And like I said, I do the rise adjustment to most things. And I'm going to do a sway back if I'm doing a knit dress. And that's mostly because if I sew a woven dress, it's probably like a loose and flowy kind of woven dress, so then it doesn't matter. Ooh, so I have one vintage machine and vintage. Okay, that's not true. I might have two vintage. Hold on. Anyway, that's not the point. I do have a vintage machine. It is in a table, you know, kind of vintage. I can't exactly remember what it is. It's a Singer something. It's underneath my cutting table right there. I have never really used it. I mean, I've played around with it, but I've never really used it, and that is very shameful. I need to use it. Now I'm just gonna sew the black front to the black back. Now here's the thing, y'all. I did not think this through when I was cutting it. I just cut it. So everything's gonna line up fine. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I didn't pay attention to whether the black was on the left or the right. It doesn't really matter, but I didn't pay attention to which side was the right side and which way I cut it out. Another trick that I learned today, which I don't know that this is really a trick, it's just something I never thought about until today, so I'm going to share it, is if you're sewing something like this that's color blocked and you are, hold on, my notches aren't lining up. Okay, there we go. And you are, I hate cutting things on a single layer is what I'm trying to say. I hate cutting things on a single layer. I much prefer to cut things on the fold. Like even if it's not on the fold, you know, like your fabric's folded over and then you cut it out. So you have two of them from the one cut. Well, you can't do that when you're doing color blocking because you're doing two different fabrics. So what I did today is a little bit of a cheat, I think, is I laid out my tan and my black fabric on top of each other. So I took the black fabric, I laid it down, smoothed it out. I very carefully put the tan fabric over, laid it down, smoothed it out, put the front piece on, cut it out on a single layer of each color fabric, but they were on top of each other. That saved me a second cut. I did that mostly because I was running out of time to start this live, but I literally had never thought about that before. I would just cut the black and then cut all the pieces out in tan, and it would take me twice as long. I'm sure if I was really doing a pattern where I wanted to make sure that everything was lining up just perfectly, I would not have done that. But for this, where I just needed everything sort of smooth and flat, I just went ahead and did it. All right, so this is the black shoulder and the black seam, and for this I am going to rethread my machine, which I am instantly going to regret, but I do not want to see any tan thread peeking through on the black seam. And I think I'm going to have to do this one more time when it comes time to attach the band. Julian, how are you? Julian would probably be another really good person to follow and watch if you are looking for anything sewing related, really. But sewing history, one, and then fitting. He does a great job with fitting as well. I was just talking about Aronica and like her pants fitting, Julian, so now I'm adding you to the combo. Look, I have this little bit of black I'm just going to go ahead and use because I feel like I'm going to have to switch this one more time. So, but why is this one little piece hanging off like this? You know what? Maybe I'm not, because where did this come from? Why is this like this? Yep, that's too much trouble. I got another black up here somewhere. All right. I am making McCalls 8194, Julian, because I've been meaning to make this dress for like literal years. And now that I'm trying to make sure that I come on every week and sew something live, hopefully that'll help me knock through some of these projects and also sew through my very large stash, especially because if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I won Mood's $500 gift card recently. Not that it's going to take very long to spend $500 on fabric from Mood, but I need to sew through some of what I got before I start adding more stuff. So that's in the works. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew the two black pieces together, so the black front and the black back. Then I'm going to hold it up and see which side the black is on, because child, I don't even know. I just cut into the fabric. I really want to work on bringing you guys good quality, interesting lives. So Melody, definitely if there is like anything that you are curious about or would like to see explicitly, I can do that. We can maybe do like a tips and tricks session one time. Maybe like a live on just different ways to finish a seam, you know, or just any little thing like that. I also previously had up 2 windows so I could look at you on my computer and maybe do like a more first person view of what I'm actually stitching at my machine. If y'all would like to see that, I can try that again. I'll just turn that camera back on because I do like lives where people have like multi angles so I can see everything that they're saying. I just don't want to have too much going on. I don't know if everybody else likes that. It's like too much stuff. Good, Julian. Julian, is your voice back? I've been thinking about you because what is going on? I thought there was some progress there, and then I saw you on stories not too long ago, and I was like, oh no. But I know you're doing well. We're gonna pray about it, and we're gonna get that resolved because we have to hear your beautiful voice. 2026 has definitely, you know, kicked the door open and started, at least for me. 2025 was a very rough year for me personally. I hope that it was better for everybody else, but every single person I know had a rough 2025, so prayers that 2026 is gonna go by smoothly. Yay! Look, if this was TikTok, I would bring you up. Me and TikTok just have a weird relationship. I don't know. I'm going to stick to YouTube for a while. Also, if there's any like patterns you guys want to see in the future, I think maybe we have one more week in February, right? I think maybe next month, I want to do free patterns, like do a whole month of sewing free patterns just to show people like the kind of patterns that are out there. Also to give you a little bit of a like pattern review on those patterns, because free patterns range widely. You can get free patterns from like established indie companies that you're pretty sure are going to be graded well and drafted well, have clear instructions, clear illustrations, clear pictures. But then you're going to have some other free patterns that are just free and you don't know what you're getting. Now, it's free, so you can't really complain, but like mood patterns, I've heard a lot of back and forth about how poor or well they're constructed. I know that their instructions are definitely a little lacking. Unfettered Patterns has a like pattern line. They're not as size inclusive as I would like for them to be, but again, they're free, so what are you gonna say? I've sewn a couple of their patterns and it's been just fine. There's some other patterns, right? That there's some other companies that have nothing but free patterns. So I thought that would be interesting. It's also sort of good for beginners, especially if it's a beginner friendly project, to be able to like try to learn to sew without spending a lot of money on patterns, especially now that there's almost nowhere to get physical patterns from the big five anymore on those super low sales like we used to get them at 99 cents and $1.99 back in the day. Back in my day, they used to be 99 cents. Some of y'all aren't really old enough to remember that. Yeah, I'm telling you, there's not a single person I know who had a good 2025. And I mean, like, thank the Lord, we're all here. We made it through. But 2025 was rough. 2025 was rough. I hate 2025. 2026 just needs to make sense. All right, I'm going to just sort of hold this up to show you where we're getting here. There's not at the point to try it on, obviously. But here you go. It's going to be this black and tan ensemble. Why is the, okay, you know what? We'll do this. I shouldn't do this. I'm stretching out all the holes. But see, I think that's going to be cute. This is what I get for putting it on over clothes, but I think that's going to be cute. All right. So, I feel like I might have to reduce the seam allowance, y'all. I cut a 24. It says a 24 is for a 48-inch hip. That's what I got. Child, maybe I need to measure myself again. That is highly possible the way that I've been eating. Anyway, I need to serge this. So, oh, you know what? The hem bands aren't on either. That's going to add a little bit extra. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so now I need to serge this. I am going to use my serger that just has tan thread in it because it's already threaded. Even on the black side, the seam is sewn with the black thread. So it's just going to have to... I do have two sergers. I could change one. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Burgundy thread. Yeah, burgundy thread is in my second serger right now, and I'm like, am I planning to sew anything burgundy recently or like in the future? And I don't think I am. So what we're going to do is maybe change that out to black. Let's do the tan first. Alright, I'm going to move you slow so that no one gets dizzy. And this is why I need to figure out how to up my production, right? So that I can have two cameras and not cause motion sickness here. So this is my machine that has the burgundy thread in it. I might switch that to black in a second. But first, I'm going to move this one out of the way. And my spoiled lazy behind is going to pull my other one out that you can hopefully see has the brown and tan thread already threaded in it from a different project. And then I'll switch the power cord over, turn this one on, bam, we are ready to go. So I'm going to start with the tan side seam and just finish that off. Make sure I put that one out the way. Okay, there we go. Ooh, over here I can't hear the music at all. Okay, let's go. Now I am probably going to need, you know what, I should not have sewn the side seams first, but we're already here. Because I'm going to need to take in this hip. I already know it, I really am. But we're just going to go ahead. I'll go back over it. So I did that side seam that I shouldn't have done. I'm going to do the front seam. The shoulder seam. If I can, oh, there it goes. Here's the shoulder. Gonna sew that, serge that short shoulder. And then this black seam is what I'm like, do I really want to change to black? This black and tan seam, I'm just gonna keep the tan. My knife is a little more. Because it is not making a pretty cut there. Check that out on the next project. It'll be okay for this. Cut all these threads apart. And I'm going to go ahead and serge. Actually, no, I'm not, because I'm going to make sure it fits first. But I'm not going to serge, put that other thread into black. I probably really should, but I'm not. As you can see, it looks just fine on the tan side because it matches. On the tan and black side, it also looks fine for the most part. So we're just going to go with that. This is pretty cheap fabric. Like I said, it's remnant fabric from Walmart. So I'm not even sure that this is going to turn out the best fabric-wise. And as you can see here on the black, it doesn't look bad anyway. So now, without getting you guys dizzy, I am going to switch back over here. Actually, I'm going to keep it this way because I am about to cut out the rest of the fabric because I was behind today and I did not finish. So over here, I have laid out the sleeve, which I did not cut earlier. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that last week I was asking what to make either that burgundy Valentine's dress, which I ended up making, McCalls 8383. It's not up on Instagram on the blog yet, but it is up on the YouTube live replay. But one of the other things I asked about was whether I should make these Winnie pants with the French terry I had left over from the sweatshirt that I made years ago. If you look closely and I can get in the light right, you can see how much more faded this is than this because I made this years ago and I made this weekend. But once I wash these and they fade a little bit more, I think eventually they'll catch up to each other. And I just thought the kisses were cute for Valentine's Day, and so I actually ended up finish sewing it on Valentine's Day. Not that I had anything to do or anywhere to go, but isn't it cute? I love the Winnie pants made from mermaids. Okay, Melody, I'm thinking about that. I already have a list of free patterns on my website. Check it out, tipstitch.com/ I think free-patterns. I don't know. If you go to my website, you can find it. So yeah, I can maybe start with that because I feel like that's just easy and accessible. And then we could talk about the quality of the the pattern and whether or not it's worth you making it. But you could also sew it along with me, which would be fun. All right, I'm cutting out this sleeve. I am using my rotary cutter, which I use sometimes. I used to really be afraid of rotary cutters. And then I don't know, at some point I started using them and they made sense. And I was like, oh, this is why everybody uses rotary cutters. I was always very nervous that I was going to slice my finger off because I am pretty klutzy. Also, I just could not keep a straight line at first. Like I had to use rotary cutter with like a straight edge. Like I'd have to take a ruler and sort of line it up so I could keep my line straight. Slow and steady wins the race. I guess maybe practice. I just got better at it. So now I like it. Although my blades are dull, so I think that I have to go over things more than once. I have more blades. I just am lazy and haven't changed them out. That's sad. All right. So again, I layered the. I don't want to move the camera, so I don't want to get you super dizzy, but I layered the black fabric on top of the tan fabric so that I could cut out, well, yeah, I don't know if my cable's long enough, so that I can cut out both pieces at the same time without having to cut out a black sleeve and then a tan sleeve. So I literally just have the black fabric on top of the tan fabric. And it's working out pretty well. Alright, so that is mostly cut out. I just need to transfer the notches. I'm cutting this because obviously I'm going to need the sleeves at some point anyway. I'm also cutting out the view A sleeve, so the full length sleeves. If I decide to shorten it, I can do that after the fact. I usually would have sewn these in flat, but whatever. All right, so I'm gonna put this to the side because I also need to cut out the bands, and that's what I want to attach next. So I always fold my pattern pieces up and stuff them back in the pattern envelope. I try to do this as I'm sewing the pattern, because when I don't do this as I'm sewing the pattern pieces get missing. I have a box of pattern pieces that aren't in an envelope, so that one day when I pull out a pattern, at least I know all the missing pattern pieces are in the same place, because I'll just be sewing along and finish up a project, put the pattern back in the drawer, and then be like, oh, where does this come from? Yeah, it's a me problem. So this is the back band. So I'm going to cut this out. They do it not on the fold so that you can color block. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just cut out these two. You know what? Hold on. The band is bigger. So let's cut out the band. This is the band that goes along the front. Like so, like that. So I need to cut this off. I'll cut this first. This is a bigger piece. And I need to find the fold line for view B, which, you know what? I might cut. I'm going to cut it a little bit longer than what it calls for, because I always am fearful that things aren't going to line up quite right. So I'm going to cut a little extra. But yeah, I'm just going to lay this out, cut this out. This is a long piece because it goes the whole length of the front and around to the shoulder seam. So let me smooth all of this out. Again, I'm keeping the black fabric on top of the tan so I can make this cut once. It does two things for me. One, I only have to cut it once, and then two, I know both sides are exactly the same because I cut it at the same time. Yeah, this is a long piece. Pull that up. I'm gonna have to use my scissors because it is longer than my cutting mat. I want to make sure that this fabric is smoothed out. So I'm getting weird puckering or whatever. Alright, hopefully that's long enough. One day I'm going to get a better overhead mounting system that doesn't impede me on both sides, and that'll make some things a little easier. Oh yeah, this is longer. Okay, we're just gonna start at the top and then figure it out. Pull it up a little bit. I'd also love to have a longer table, but alas, where are all my pattern weights? I just use washers. Oh yes, the one they just released like yesterday, right? They did it like in a sequins, not sequins, like a metallic rib knit or something with a little 2 strings. I saw that one too. I also would like to make that. I agree. Should we do it? Should we do it next week? I'm sure I have some fabric somewhere in here that I can use for that pattern. Do you have a fabric in mind already, Catrice? I think ultimately I would want to do it like in a French terry or something, but like hopefully we're moving into spring soon. So I don't know if French terry would be too heavy for the spring. Because it was long sleeves and long pants, but I don't know. In a lighter weight French terry, I think it might be alright. Alright, I'm putting a lot of pattern weights on this because I don't want it to get too wonky with the stretch. especially because I'm going to have to cut some of it with my scissors because this pattern piece is longer than my self-healing mat. Alright, I think that's pretty good and lined up. You just don't like, oh no, I agree. And you don't really have a choice with the move patterns because they don't give you like AL files. So even if you wanted to send it off to a printer, which wouldn't be that bad considering that you got the pattern for free, you can't because they just give you the tiled. But what I do like, if you've never put a move pattern together, and you may have, but what I do like about theirs is that you don't have to trim theirs. You literally can just put the pattern pieces on top of each other and tape or glue. So at least it takes out the cut of trimming the edges off the pages, which is something, right? Something. Alright, we're going to go ahead and cut this out. I can do this portion with the rotary cutter if I knew where I put my rotary cutter, but that's okay because I have two of everything. We'll just use this one. Alright. And this is off the board, so I have to do this. Throw the scraps away. Always put a bin right next to this part's on the mat, so I can use the rotary cutter. I cut all my patterns so that I can cut all sizes, which sometimes means lifting up or folding over pattern pieces to cut the correct size. But then if I lose or gain weight, I don't have to buy a new pattern, especially now that patterns theoretically going to be harder to find. I just need to get this side started. That's the paper. Okay. Alright. And now I literally had to cut this pattern out today. Like I said, I've had this pattern for a while, and I have been wanting to sew it for years, literally. So I really thought I had already cut out the actual physical pattern pieces for this, and apparently I had not. Which is another reason why I was behind today, because when I came down to cut the fabric, I realized that the paper pattern wasn't cut, which is one more thing to do today. That I hadn't planned on doing. Alright. But again, I just let the day get away from me, so that's why I was late. Thankfully, this is pretty simple. I never really planned on sewing the buttons on today anyway, so hopefully I can still get this done. I'm mostly done by the time I want to get off this live. Commenting, I can't see, but I'm going to come back to the machine really quickly as soon as I cut these notches. Oops, that was way too big of a notch. We're going to deal with that later. It has some suggested positions up here where to put the buttons. I'll make a decision of where I think the button should go. I'm not tracing all of that. And then I just need to cut the back piece, pattern piece number 3. That's a really tiny piece, so yeah, they're trimless, which I do really appreciate. Do you have fabric already that you'd like to use for that? I am working currently on a list of companies that do the PDF printing for patterns, just so that I'm a tables kind of person, just so people have a source where they can come and look to compare quickly, like who's the most cost effective, you know, like based on where you are as far as like shipping is concerned, who prints on the kind of paper that you like, because I prefer tissue paper. I know a lot of people don't like tissue, but I prefer tissue. I think it's easier to work with, it's easier to trace, it's easier to a lot of things on it. And so I have had some patterns printed from a company overseas that does it on more like Verta paper, so it's the white tissue paper that's thicker than this, but isn't as thick as like regular 10-pound paper or whatever normal paper is. And so I like that. So I'm just going through and seeing what companies offer what. And I have a table. It's just not really easy to put tables on my website, so I've got to figure out a way to save it out in a way. You can do it as a PDF, but sometimes that looks weird, especially on mobile applications. But that might just have to be what I do for now, because I'm really trying to be a resource for information and not just like, hey, look at the pretty stuff that I sew. What happened to that pattern piece that fast, y'all? I had the back piece number 3 in my hand. Oh! It was under something. Alright, let me get this cut real quick and then we're back to sewing. I still have a little bit of this fabric left. Probably not enough to do anything useful with, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. What do y'all do with y'all scraps? Scraps are hard for me. I used to keep them in a bin right underneath this cutting table that I'm cutting out on right now. I mean, they're still there actually. It's just that they're starting to overflow. Knit scraps, I'm always like, oh yeah, maybe I can use this later for a strap of this, or maybe make some undies with, or like a little bralette triangle. So I always want to hold on to knit scraps. And then I also want to hold on to woven scraps, because I'm always like, well, that could be a pocket, you know, a pica color for a pocket somewhere. Alright, so you know what I just noticed? I think I have to cut out 4 of these. And I think I had to cut out 4 of the other things, so God bless. Let me look at the instructions, because that'll probably be useful. And something that I usually don't do. Alright. I'm going to sew these together first, and then I'm going to read the instructions, mainly because I don't want to let these 2 pieces go. And now they're together. I hope I don't regret that. Because now, you know what? I need to make sure. Shit. Hold on. Because I think I have to cut a mirror image of that. Because that is the wrong way. Do you see that? That's the wrong way. So this needs to be the inside of it. And I need to cut a mirror image. Let me actually read the freaking directions. Ooh, you were gonna order the same fabric? That'll be really cute, because that, I don't know, sometimes they don't pick the right fabric to me for their patterns that they show, but they do a much better job than the Big Five does. Because I'm not against a pop of color, and pink and orange even sort of go together, but also no. Moving on. Yeah, I think I am supposed to cut 2. Yeah, I'm supposed to cut mirror images of both bands, because what we're going to end up doing is sewing the band and then sewing another band to the band. Yeah. I don't know why they have it do it that way. Am I misunderstanding? Alright. They say sew the band together, the center back, just like I just did. Then stay stitch the front band, not doing that. And then it's just the front to the back band. And they want you to pin that to I wonder why you don't just fold it over. Whatever. That's what they want us to do, so daggone it, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do these pieces first because I already have them over here. So here they are. And now I'm going to sew the shoulder to the shoulder. Is that right? Lord have mercy. Think it through, Tiffany. Yeah, the inside, the scoop lower curve, that should go away from it. Yeah, I'm right. Sometimes I confuse myself, y'all. Yeah, okay, so maybe not next week, but let's put that on the list. Maybe that'll, because I don't know how long Mood takes to ship. Or you want me to do it next week and then determine if it's worth your time? Like, have you sewn another Mood pattern? And if so, how has it worked out for you? I've sewn Mood patterns before, but to varying degrees of success. And I've only sewn sort of like their easier patterns, if that makes sense, like simple sweatshirts or like a simple dress. I haven't sewn, like they have a couple of swimsuits I've wanted to sew. I haven't tried those. And I just hear a lot of people say that they're not really sized correctly or graded very well. I know the instructions aren't necessarily great, but I've been sewing for a while, so I can pretty much figure out how to put things together. As I quite possibly sewed this together wrong. We'll see. And I did. I did. Ignore that previous comment. I just realized the seam allowances. I didn't sew the right side to the right side. Don't know where my seam ripper is right now, so I'm just using my little scissors to snip a couple so I can get in there. There we go. Alright, so this needs to be this way. Here's the problem with not having a very clear right side. This needs to be this way. No. This needs to be this way. So that when this opens up, yes. Okay, I had to figure that out. I think I got it right this time, y'all. These I don't have to serge because they're going to get encapsulated within themselves, and I do think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. All right, so now we got to sew the other side to the other side. This is the black side. You're going to do the same thing, make sure it's going the right way. All right. I did not run out of bobbin thread, so what happened? I think my thread came out of the needle because I sewed nothing. I was sewing air. All right. Rethread this. Yeah. Oof. Oh wait, this got caught up somewhere. Because it is giving me resistance. Where is it caught up? Child, I don't know. It's caught up in there somewhere. All right. Rethread. All right. Good to go. So this together again. But for real this time. All right. Yep, there we go. Now I have to cut this again because sorry. Someone video called me. Okay, because this is the reverse way. I want to go ahead and attach this to the dress, but I can't because the colors are going the wrong way. Now that could be a fun color block, but that is not what I'm going for today. To have like the trim be the opposite for like color blocking on top of color blocking, but that is not what I want for today. So I need to cut out the reverse of what I just cut out. So let's do that again. Now, here's where I'm mad at myself because this would have been a lot easier had I truly cut that out on the fold and not like black on top of tan like I had done it the first time. But I wasn't reading and I'm rushing. So let's slow it down. Make sure we get this piece right. I only have so much of the length of this fabric left, so I can't cut this out twice. Alright. And I already put that piece back in the envelope, so let's pull it back out. So it's in here somewhere. So I just stuffed it in. Oops, sorry about that. All right, I am going to cut this out. I cut it out this way the first time. Yes, so I'm going to flip it to make sure I get a mirror image this time. That is correct. Like I said, I can't mess this up. Have so much fabric left. And one day when I figure out how to get multiple cameras set up, then I can like show y'all the overhead of this as well. I think I need a few things. One, I think I need a USB like input to have more machines to be able to connect. I only have 2 USB-C ports. I need the laptop charging first. And then secondly, I got one camera hooked up to it, so then I would need another USB-C port that I don't have. I have the microphone in the head jack, which could also have used a USB-C port, but I don't have anymore. So I'm learning as I go with this. I also want everything connected to the laptop so that I can see clearly. Maybe, I was gonna say maybe I could move that to like a tablet, but I think I'd have to pick a different software for streaming. wanted that to happen, but alright. That's halfway cut out. Come up the other side. Transfer all of the notches again. Alright, I think that's good. And then I just have to cut the little bitty pattern piece 3 again. Try to fold this back up neatly again. That's one. Put that there. Now this one, crap, which way did I cut it? It's gonna be alright. I think I cut it face up, so now we're gonna cut this one face down. Yeah, we're gonna say that, it makes sense. Alright, so we are going to repeat this and sew the center backs together. I just need to make sure that it is truly going the opposite way of the one that's already done. So if this one has tan on the top this way, then I need black on the top this way. Stitch. And then I need to stitch, nope, where are the long pieces? Here they are. To stitch them together, tan to tan, black to black. So black to black, is that right? I think so. Yeah. If not, we'll redo it. It's a very short stitch, I don't mind. We're gonna go with the guess. So one of the reasons why I think that I've always just jumped head first into sewing is because at the end of the day, I'm like, it's just fabric. If I mess up, I'll unpick it. If I terribly mess it up, then we'll just start over. Whatever happens, happens. Which probably isn't the best attitude all the time, but it is the attitude I have a lot of the time. Now, that is not true if it is more expensive fabric. This is, again, really cheap fabric. Really cheap, like $8 in total. So now that I have two strips that are sewn together opposite, one of these strips should match the color when I put right sides together. And look at that, it does. So we are going to pin. Now, I did not serge these because these are going to get encapsulated by the one that's sort of sewn the opposite way, and that is the facing. So I'm going to line this up at the shoulder seams and just go along the edge here. Sort of finger pressing these seams open. I probably should have like ironed it, but I'm not. This is also really thin knit. I don't even know how hot of an iron it could take. And hopefully everything lines up. Matching the notch, that's how you know that I did in fact sew the right sides together. You are going to have to do this weird turn here where it sort of angles out and down, but that's not hard to do. We're just going to put a pin right before the turn, pin sort of at it, stretching it to fit, and then just sort of keep going down the side. And then the rest of it's just sort of straightforward. I am going to put in a good amount of pins just to make sure everything's lining up. And I cut my bands a little long, which is just habit, because a lot of times when you're doing a knit dress like this and it has a band, they'll ask you to interface the band. Now they don't in this pattern because you're not actually, the buttons aren't functional. They're just sort of like faux buttons sewn on. But if the buttons were real, oftentimes they will have you like interface it. And what I've noticed is when you interface, at least with the fusible interfacing that I use, sometimes the facing ends up shorter than the actual dress or top or cardigan or whatever you're sewing the band on to. So I always cut like an extra inch or two to make sure that I have enough, because I'd rather trim it off the end than not have enough. Let's see, y'all, it's 8:30. I'm not doing great on time because I didn't have all my pattern pieces cut, but we're gonna keep chugging along. All right, same thing for where it sort of does this turn here. It comes out and then goes down. You're gonna sort of line up the corners together. Oh wait, crap. Did I sew this side on? This side is lining up better. Oh crap, I did sew that side up wrong. And this is where sometimes just being ambitious bites you in the butt. Lots of times I just jump into things fearless, but this is obviously one of the times I should not have done it. So then why did those notches match up? Are there notches on both sides? Because the notch lined up. I don't understand. Yeah, no, I sewed this side wrong. Yeah, I sewed this side. Don't know how I managed to do that either. But I haven't pinned this side all the way, so I'm better with that. But I knew the other side was right. I'm about to confuse myself. Alright, wrong side's facing here. Okay, I really need to find my seam ripper. So I don't want to nick this fabric. Aha, got it. The good thing about your thread being contrasting thread is that it's easier to find it to pick it. There's a plus for that. Alright. Alright, so what I just need to do is flip this around. Flip it. So that that side matches that side. Restitch. I'm not totally crazy. A little bit crazy. Finger press. Repin that. And now I can pin all the way down. Because you're sort of matching a convex curve to a concave curve. Yeah, I know. I'm a nerd. But that's sort of what you're doing in here. So this is actually going out this way, where this piece is going out this way. So you sort of have to like turn at that point. You're sort of putting opposites together. Yeah, that makes more sense. All right, here we go. Somewhere I missed a notch because there should be a notch right there, but it's gonna be okay. We're just gonna keep it moving. Again, some of these lives are gonna be me just really trying to sew through my stash, making patterns that I've always meant to make but never get around to making. For the next several months, I won't be doing anything too complicated. At some point, I probably will do something that's a series, like, you know, so an hour or two, an hour and a half, and maybe it takes 4 weeks, the whole month to finish the project. But for right now, I'm enjoying just doing quick sews that I've always meant to sew and just never really gotten around to. Okay, these notches are really confusing me. But it's all right. So I think what's going to happen is once I fold this over to the other side, the other notch is going to match there. If this doesn't work out right, we will call it a night and I will come back to it later. I am actually looking at the instructions for once they're on the floor, so I keep looking down like this, but I am actually looking at them. I don't usually pay a whole lot of attention to the instructions for really simple patterns like this one, but sometimes I overthink or underthink and confuse myself. So another thing that I like to do when I'm sewing these type of hem bands that go along the edge of a dress like this, or say a cardigan, is I like to start at the center and go out, and then the center and go out the other way, because if you start at one end and go all the way around, the fabric tends to grow and you end up with everything not lining up quite right and then having extra when you get to one end. You especially don't want that in this situation where you have color blocking, because let's say I started on the black side and then by the time I got here it had grown. Now all the colors aren't going to match up, so I'm going to start right here in the center back, go one direction, flip it over, do the center back to the other direction. I don't know that I'm changing my thread for this, but I am going to start with the black side just in case I do decide to change the thread for this. I'm going to start with the black side. I should probably start with the black side and then also do the black sleeve. That would save me one more swap back and forth. And then let me just make sure that it's still 5/8 of an inch seam allowance for this. Yeah, doesn't say anything, it's different. And then we're going to do the facing pieces. And sew them over. Anyway, all right, we're good to go. We are going to sew this. I'm still using a straight stitch because I just don't feel like sewing a zigzag stitch, and I think it's going to be okay. Although there is some stretch a little bit on the back in this direction. Because I am starting in the middle, I'm back stitching and then continuing to start the stitch. We are sewing around. So I just started doing the lives last week, Melody, and I usually post in the post on YouTube, but I also post on Instagram. When I post it on like the community post tabs in YouTube, you can see it, but I'm most active with smaller stuff like that on YouTube. I am not quite a TikTok user quite yet. I am going to try to move this slowly ish so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit here. Don't want y'all looking at my face this whole time. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it Wednesdays at 7. It's the time of the week that works for me. Hopefully they will continue to work for other people. For a lot of people wanting on a different day, maybe. I thought about Fridays because I feel like everybody's just trying to sort of unwind on a Friday and chill out, so that would be a good time to sew. But then I'm also trying to chill out on a Friday, and knowing I need to go live would not chill me out. So Wednesday just seems to be the day in the week that works the best for me. So it's always going to be Wednesdays at 7 Eastern Standard Time. My cutoff is supposed to be 9. That didn't work last week, and it doesn't seem to be working this week. So we'll see how that goes going forward. This is the part where you have like that corner piece. So what I'm trying to do is like really try to make sure that that's aligned. Put the needle down. Move this pin, lift the foot, and sort of turn it around to make that corner really clear. All right. Whoop! And this is why I had the camera going the other way. Sorry, so sorry. I know that's like making people motion sick. Yeah, so I'm gonna continue doing Wednesdays at 7, and then I'll post hopefully. Thank you, please do that. I'm going to post after I get through this month and prove that I can be consistent. I'm going to start trying to post it like for the month, although I am an artist and I reserve the fact to change my mind, the prerogative to change the pattern out. But I think that's what I'm going to start doing, is like just do out a month schedule of what I plan on sewing each Wednesday. Next Wednesday I think I'm going to do something really simple, which is the Closet Core Crew t-shirt. It's a free pattern, just because I plan on making it and I know that it's a quick sew. It would be a good thing to sort of just go ahead and sew online. So I think that's what I'm going to sew next. I need to sew McCalls 8011. I have fabric for it from Sitka Fabrics, which is and I've been meaning to sew that. I've already used that same fabric to sew the Alia pants, and I'd like to have that as a matching set before it hopefully gets too warm to need a jacket. It's a beautiful stretch corduroy. I just know that's going to take me longer. It has like patch pockets and all kinds of stuff than like one. That would be something that I either would start on live, finish on live, or have to do like a 2-parter on. So, but the Closet Core Crew tee will be a quick sew. I started to swap that out for this dress tonight since I did not have the pattern for this cut out. I sort of feel like I need to change back to the tan thread. However, Butterama, then I'd have to switch it back out at least twice more, and I don't think I feel like doing that. So we are just going to go with the black. The stitch is tight enough that you shouldn't see the thread anywhere. It's just going to have to be okay. So what I've done now is just flipped it over. To go in the other direction, starting from the center back. And that's just because I don't want, especially in a knit, this fabric to grow on me and me just have a lot of excess fabric on one side. if anybody wasn't here in the beginning, one of the reasons why I was late today is because I forgot I had a nail appointment. Are my nails cute? Shameless plug. I didn't do them. I guess it's not really a plug. Shameless brag. I don't know. Anyway, I did not have anything in mind when I went to see my nail tech today, and I just told her, give me a color that I've never had before, and I sort of want something like simple and geometric, and so this is just what she came up with. I think she's great. All right, we're getting close to that point again. Right here where you have the turn of the fabric. So I'm trying to keep this straighter in here. This pin right here is like right in the corner. Lift the foot, twist it again. Make sure there's no bubbles or anything right there. And now the rest of it is just straight. Now if I end up needing to top stitch this, I am going to have to change the thread again. Alright, we are only 9 minutes from it being 9 p.m. on the East Coast, so I'm gonna attach the band facing and then see how I feel. I might have to finish this off live. Or I may just tough it out. Let me see how I feel in 9 minutes, I guess. Picture next time. Alright, so now that band is on, let me take a look at it. This would be a good time to give everything a press. Okay, yes, that is correct, because what you wanted was, it'd be better if I could lay this flat, but I don't want to keep moving the camera. Like this is the front piece, this is the center front, this is where the buttons will go. So this comes out at sort of a this angle. And so when you're attaching the facing, you're attaching opposite curves. So like the inside of the curve and the outside of the curve are a convex and a concave curve, which can be weird. It's like a princess seam. If you've sewn those, how they, you know, go together, but they're doing the opposite thing. Anyway, so yeah, so that actually did work out. So now I need to take the other band, and this is why I didn't want to change the thread, because I need to go back to black and then black to tan. It would be sort of hard to do them separately. And then you're going to right size facing with this band match up the center back. Sorry, I'll hold it up so you can see in a second. The center back. Actually, it needs to be held up the reverse way, I guess. So this one is already attached to the fabric here, and then this is the one that we are attaching. So I'm just lining up the seams and the outside notches here, because we're going to sew that together. Which I personally would have rather sewn the bands together and then sewn both of the bands to the dress, but these are the pattern instructions that they gave us. Now this time that little not quite 90-degree angle will match up perfectly, because that's how we're sewing it this time. Oh crap, did I sew this backwards again? I sewed this the wrong size because this should match. Crap! Ola! Why am I on the struggle bus today? I was on the struggle beat. I promise y'all I can sew. Like, follow me on Instagram. Look at what I've sewn on YouTube. I can sew. I don't know why my brain is like malfunctioning tonight and last week. I promise I know what I'm doing, but this is somehow backwards. Which I don't know if I got my pieces mixed up or what, but at least I caught it before I started sewing. And at least these are teeny little seams, and I didn't serge them, so awesome. This will take all of like a second to redo. So we want it to go the other way. The good news is that there also isn't really a very right or wrong side of this fabric. That is the other plus for sure. It also just means you should look at your patterns before you start. Like, you should actually read the instructions before you start sewing pieces together. I just was really arrogant and just was so sure that I had it right. All right, here we go. Back through the machine. I did it wrong on the other side too, so now we gotta do the black side, which is a little harder because this thread matches. It's not as easy to see, but we're gonna get in there. Undoing your stitches is sort of like when you watch people on TV do demo to a house. Like, it shouldn't be that easy for your cabinets to come down. Sometimes I feel like it shouldn't be that easy for my seams to come apart, but alas. Crap, did I do it wrong again? I can't be that stupid. I could. Let's double check. So when it comes time to put this to this, I need it to be going out like this, which means it needs to go to, this time we're going to pin it. There we go. Pin it so that we don't lose it in translation. When people say in sewing that your seam ripper is your best friend, despite the fact that I'm using the scissors, they're not lying. All right, so we need this piece to go out like this. Yes. All right. This would be so much easier if I had a right and wrong side of the fabric. I couldn't put it together the wrong way. But alas, this looks the same on both sides, as most rib knits do. Alright, so now I think we're good to go. I'm gonna sort of start with that corner piece. And the notches line up. That's what we needed. There we go. Woosah. And then we can line up the shoulder seams. pin in between, keep everything together. And now we have the center back of the neckline of the band and the center back facing. Sort of finger press that open, pin those together. And then I'm gonna do another pin in between. Alright. And now here's that shoulder seam. On the tan side, put it together. Finger press. Put a pin in between. And then this notch will line up this time. I finally did it right. I have no idea why the seam allowance does not change for this. It is still 5/8 of an inch. That's a lot of seam allowance, but whatevs. I could trim it down, and I will in the curve once we get to that. I just need to pin the full length of this. There go my other notches matching up. Now I'm going to do the same thing here like I did when I was attaching the band to the dress. Now that I'm attaching the band to the band facing, I'm still going to start at the center back and move my way to the center front. I am also going to go ahead and stitch my label into the band right now. It's not really a necessary step. I could do it later, but I don't want to. So, as I said on my last live, and I guess I will continue to say, I get my labels from Dutch Label Shop or Wonder Label. They seem like the same company, but I usually order it from Dutch Label Shop. I have worked with them in the past. They're a great company. I've gotten my labels from them for years. This is just my Tip Stitch logo. If you don't have your own custom logo, they have like different emojis and characters you could use. You could simply just do your name and a font that they pick, or you can upload a vector file and they can do whatever you like. I also have these cute little itty bitty tees. See how close I can get to the camera and still get some light. Cute itty bitty tees. I love these. I'll be putting that on the Closet Core tee if I make that next week. Okay, so this is really easy to find the center back because it's color blocked, and this is going to be the side that we're attaching the facing that's going to be on the inside. So I'm just going to line up the center of my label with the center of this. I know that is pretty much where the capital S is, so I'm going to pin that in. I'll turn the camera around one more time so that you can see. So this is the side, that's the band attached to the dress. This is the band facing. The band facing is what's going to be on the inside, so I attached the label to that. And I know that the capital S is sort of like the center of my logo, so I'm going to take it, put it right where the black and the tan meet. I'm going to shorten my stitch here because I just like doing that for this little label. I'm going to back stitch, stitch forward, back stitch right there. So I got one side attached. Just going to get some slack, pull it to the other side. Do it again. And now my label is attached. And cut off these like little loose threads here. Don't want to cut the dress. There we go. So now my label is in, and you'll see how that all comes together in a second, because I'm going to go ahead and again starting at the center back, so from one side to the other. I'm still not changing from this black thread, y'all, sorry. If I was really being anal about it, I would, but that's not for today. Yes, please, please, please do that, Melody. The good thing about, hold on one second, because I had pulled it out earlier. This is the Closet Core Tee. Oh wait, I don't have the camera turned around facing me. I'm sorry if this is making y'all like dizzy. It would make me dizzy. I do have the Closet Core Tee here. This is what I do with my PDF patterns, especially when I print them out on paper. But even if they're tissue, I print them out, cut them, trim them, you know, all the things we don't like. Put them together, and I fold them down so they fit into an 8.5 by 11 envelope. I print out the cover sheet and I make that the like photo picture. Anyway, so this is the Closet Core Tee. It comes in a crop length and a hip length. I always sew the crop length. It has an optional pocket, like chest pocket, which I like. It's cute. That's where I'll add that little T label that I just showed you. This is a free pattern. I do think you have to subscribe to their newsletter, but it's worth it. It's free. You can unsubscribe if you just like really don't like to get their newsletters. But yeah, it's not quite a boxy fit, but it's not a fitted fit. It's like semi-loose, semi-fitted. I don't know. It comes in a 0 to 14, or no, it comes in a 0 to 20, and then a 14 to 32. So their sizes are pretty inclusive. This is also what I do with the instructions. I print them out using like the booklet mode so that I have like a little booklet of instructions. It also saves paper because technically there's 4 sheets on each one sheet of paper. Anyway, yeah, so I think, yeah, it comes in a 0 to 20 for a B cup and a 14 to a 32 for a D cup. So yeah, you can definitely do this. It works for pretty much any decently stretchy knit. So like a double birch ponte, a jersey knit, a French terry. It says it needs 30% cross rise stretch. So that can be a lot of things. Anyway, so I'm going to make the crop one with the short sleeves. In a red French terry. You guys have seen the set if you follow me on Instagram that I made with another free top pattern, the Casey sweatshirt, and I did the Winnie pants, and I want to be able to transition that look into spring, so I'm going to make a t-shirt as well. It only takes about a yard, maybe a yard and a quarter of fabric, so if you just have some scrap, yeah, in a size 32, the short sleeve is a yard and a half, the long sleeve hip length is a yard and 3/4, in that's up to a size 32. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, if you have some knit fabric in your stash, if you have some way to print it, it's not a whole lot of sheets. I mean, it's, you know, it's definitely not that jumpsuit for Mood. You know what I mean? Like it's maybe 15, 20 sheets. Because it's just a front, back, short sleeve, and a pocket. And a hem and a neckband. Sorry, there is a neckband. They also have, what do they call it? This piece here, which is a neck and shoulder binding. You see that in like t-shirts, like professional t-shirts, like a Hanes men undershirt has that little piece of fabric that like covers that seam in the back through the shoulders. So it's a very professional finish, which goes back to I do like Closet Core, but they make some things more difficult than they have to be. It's perfectly fine. It's a nice extra touch. I'm probably going to leave it out. I've done it before on other projects and it's just not quite worth it to me. We'll see how I feel. For a live sew, maybe I'll do it just to show the technique. It can be really cute if you do it in like a contrasting fabric, which is why I sort of mentioned like a men's Hanes t-shirt, because they usually do it in like a light blue or something. All right, we're about to have one side done. I'm gonna do the other side. And I will go ahead ahead and post about that for next week, and also do a few reminders just so no one forgets. By no one, I mean me. Because by next week, who knows what else I would be thinking of to sew. Hopefully I'll get that McCalls jacket sewn this weekend. And I still need to photograph the Valentine's Day dress I sewed last week. I haven't photographed these kisses, smooches pants that I have on now. So a lot of time I be sewing. I just don't be posting. And I need to do a better job of posting and sewing, honestly. Alright, that's one side. I'm going to start at the center back and do the other side because of what I said before. Caught a little piece of the fabric. Okay, there we go. And then all I have to do after this is the sleeves, the hem, and stuff like that. I still don't know that I'm going to finish it tonight because we are already past 9, but we'll see. I am the type of sewist that likes to finish a project once I start. And that's not always the best thing, because if you follow Brittany J. Jones, she has this whole motto or philosophy about sewing in 30, because if you wait until you have hours to sew a whole project from start to finish, you're probably never going to start that project. So I totally agree with her that it's better to go ahead and break it up, you know, cut the pattern out one day, cut the fabric out the next day, the next day or a couple of days after that, then go ahead and put the main body pieces together, or sew all the pockets, or do all the top stitching, you know, I don't know, whatever is required in the pattern that you are sewing, you know. But I'm a sucker for instant gratification. I want to start it and finish it all in the same sitting, so I might push through. But her logic definitely makes more sense. It's more practical if you have responsibilities. You have other people in your house that need to like eat. You know, you need to do chores like washing your clothes. You got kids, you got to do after school activities, weekend activities. And that used to be me, but my kids are older now, so I don't have to consider that quite as much. Thank God. But, you know, there's still always things. Life be lifing. And I did not pin this all the way. Why did I stop pinning? Probably because I was running my mouth, as I am now. So let me pin this, make sure this doesn't get too out of control. Yep, those notches still line up. Good. Not too much stretching here. What I will do if I don't do anything else is I will definitely walk through my button options. So here's the thing, you got black and tan. First I got to decide which side to overlap what side, because the bands aren't going to meet in the middle. They are going to overlap, as you can sort of see on the pattern. Like the pink overlaps the orange and they put pink buttons. So I'm not sure if I want the black to overlap the tan or the tan to overlap the black. And then I'm definitely not sure if I want like buttons that match. So if the black is on top, do I want to do black buttons? Or if the black is on top, do I want to do wooden or tan buttons? Questions, questions, questions. And I have both. I have tan buttons, I have black buttons, I have wooden buttons. Alright, so now the band facing is attached to the band. And I can fold all of that over. And I wonder if it wants me to top stitch. It says understitch. You bastards. I think that's necessary, so I'm gonna have to do it. Understitching simply means to fold your seam allowance towards the facing and sew through your facing and your seam allowance. But look at how neat this is, y'all. Look at how well my center back lines up. From the dress to the facing to the band facing. Like, hold on, I'll do it this way. See how it lines up? Perfection. Maybe not perfection, but very good. Alright, so it would help if I gave this a press. I'm not gonna. What I'm going to do is firmly sort of finger press this over to the side to do the understitching, because I do think that's necessary. And then I think I'm going to put this on my mannequin and pin it, and then we'll talk about buttons, and then I think I'm just going to do the sleeves later. Alright, so hold on. Not to dizzy you again. Try to do it somewhat slowly. Alright, so just in case there's any beginners that are watching on the replay, this is the dress, this is the band, this is the band facing. What we're going to do, and I think I'm going to do it on the wrong side, is we are going to make sure that needle is up. We are going to finger press, right, the seam allowance towards the facing. This is the facing where my label is. This is the band in the middle, and then this is the actual dress. So you want to understitch by pressing the seam allowance towards the facing. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm not catching my label underneath, which I'm not. Great. And again, if I gave this a real press, it would be better, but I'm just going to finger press here and see how very, very close I am to that actual seam. And I'm just going to stitch. You can do this with the top up or the bottom up, but this makes me make sure that I have this pressed nicely, so I'm just going to do it for this side. It's going to be on the inside of the garment. You're not really going to see it. What this does is prevents the facing that should be inside for wanting to pop out and be outside. Harder to see on this black side because I am using black thread. But even here, sort of in this curved part, I'm just pressing everything. And this is again why I'm doing it from the wrong side up. So I can see what's happening. You don't want to pull too tight, but you want to just keep pulling that over to one side. And I did it just like I did. Now this is that corner. The other part was the curve of the neck. And again, you're just going to want to keep it pulled sort of tight, but not like really stretching it to get in there. Now you could lift your needle, which is what I might do because I don't want to get all the way in the corner. So I just sort of stopped right there at the turn, and now we're going to start a little below the turn again, sort of where that notch is on this pattern. And I know it looks crazy because I'm doing it on the black side, but we'll see when I do it on the other side. Back stitch. And now we're just going to go down the full length of the front is basically where we're at now. still have some thread in there, but not a lot, so let's remember that when I switch to the other side to check how much is in the bobbin. So you still aren't really going to be able to see on this side, but it's a stitch line very close. You know what, let's just do it on the other side. All right, on this side I will do it, actually I still want to do it the other way, but okay, here you can see, so I just stitched on the side that's the facing really close to the seam, and that will keep this from wanting to roll out. Like, see over here, it just wants to sort of roll up. Even if I sort of hold it there, see how it wants to do that? But here, it keeps the line a little bit more crispy. And it's going to be easier for me to put this, but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm still going to do it the wrong side up. I'm just going to have to start at the end. It's already stitched, so hopefully it won't stretch too much. So this is going to be starting at the hem of the tan side. And you can see here better that I'm folding this over and then stitching very close to, like, here's the line that we had. I'm stitching very close to that while sort of pushing everything to this side and trying to keep it flat. I like doing it wrong side up so that I can make sure that I'm catching everything. That's made it this far, if the lives are too long or watching the live is just too chaotic, I do have other sort of sew along or sew with me videos on my channel. Here's that knot, so I'm just going to sort of back stitch there, lift the needle, and ran out of bobbin thread, so it's a good thing that I stopped right there anyway. But what I was saying was, if you are a person who is interested in sewing related, oh no, how far back did my bobbin stitch? Look how far back it stopped, way back here. I said I was gonna have to check it, y'all, and I do. And that's okay, because I keep black bobbin thread loaded. Whoops, dropped it. So although this one isn't full either, I can drop it in really quickly. Anyway, what I was saying is, if you like to watch people sew, or like learning to sew by watching others, or would like a little bit of step-by-step instruction on some basic kind of patterns, I have some other sew with me kind of videos on my channel that I call From Fabric to Fit, where I show you where I start with the fabric, cut it, put it together. It's not a true sew along, but I do sort of talk you through all the steps. Most of the steps, pointing out things that are interesting, like slant pockets or pin tucks, stuff like that, and the tips and tricks I use for those kind of things. Alright, I'm going to turn this around a little bit because I need some content for when I put this on Instagram. I'm trying to make sure all my things happen, so hold on. I just needed a quick clip of sewing that seam. Trying to be a real content creator out here, guys. Alright, so I'm almost back around. center back seam. I'm at the shoulder seam, which is the thickest. I'm going to come back and trim some of this off. Alright, it is understitched. And the next thing it wants you to do, it says to baste it. So when does it ever want you to stitch it all the way closed? I have no idea. It never really tells you how to finish off the inside. It says turn facing to the inside, press, baste the outer stitch in place. It literally never really tells you to finish it, which is weird. Yeah, that's why I don't be looking at directions. Anyway, I'm gonna pin it for right now because I want you guys to help me with buttons, and then I'm calling it a night. I'll have to finish this later. You will see it when I post it to YouTube, and please follow me on my blog and subscribe to my Substack, where I'm going to try to do a much better job of posting these kind of updates. But Instagram is definitely where you can see the finished pictures. I'm going to try to do better about also posting them to the YouTube community as well. Because like I said, I be sewing, I just don't always remember to take the pictures. I'm trying to get better about just like not trying to be a perfectionist, which by this video you would have no idea that I try to be, but you know, I want everything to like look right and the pictures to be cute and to be taken outside on a nice day with natural light, and sometimes that just doesn't happen. Sometimes I just have to take it against this back wall over here that I tried to sort of decorate with the decals to make it photographic. So yeah, anyway, let's pin this together, and then what do y'all think? I think I've lost everybody, and that's fine, but I'm thinking, do I want black over tan or tan over black? And I think that it really is going to depend on the button that I choose. So let me pull out my buttons, and you can watch me rambly try to figure out which one I think is going to be better. By the time that this is even on a replay, I probably still won't have this completely done. So even if you're seeing this on a replay, go ahead and leave your comment about which button once I get to that part, because I am interested in what other people think. And I am terribly indecisive when it comes to picking buttons. All right, so I just did that to sort of make it lay flat for me in my visualization. And what I'm going to have to do here is, I think, move my sewing machine out of the way so I can have some room on this table and lay out some of the options. Just need to neaten this up a little bit. Pardon moi. Because otherwise I will be struggling looking for stuff later, and I hate that. Alright, let's move this on the floor for a second. Yep, without breaking anything. Clean up under here. Lots of loose threads, lots of loose threads. All right, now let me turn you around again. Put it all the way down. So this is the facing that it really never shows you how to finish. I think what I might do is, well, the easiest thing to do would be just to serge. Sorry, let me cut off all these loose threads. The easiest thing to do would probably be to just take this over to my serger and serge this raw edge together. Just meeting up the raw edge, serge that raw edge together. That would be the easiest and quickest way to do it. The most air quotes professional looking way to do it would be to fold this up, fold this under. See how that sort of makes a clean thing where it would hide all the stitching if I went around like that, folding both of the seam allowances under. And I could either stitch in the ditch here, catching this on this side, or I could hand stitch all the way around. I'm not that much a fan of hand stitching, so I really doubt that's what I'm going to do, but that really would be the cleanest way to do it, would be to press this seam allowance under and then press the seam allowance under here, and then just literally hand stitch it. Sorry if I'm out of frame. Hand stitch it all the way around. That would really be the cleanest way to do it. I don't feel like I want to do that though. If I put this pin right here, you could see I could also go in here and literally just top stitch. Then I would have to change the threads because I would not like that. But basically what I'm saying is, like, I could take this seam allowance, press, I can take, well, let's do it on the tan side. I could take the seam allowance from the dress to the band, fold it under, and then fold under the seam allowance of the facing. And then, uh-oh, I lost the pin. Get the pin back. And then I could pin it like this, probably vertically, and just keep doing that the entire way around. You know, with this seam, press that up, press this under, pin it, right? And then I could take it to the sewing machine and top stitch all the way around. That would make it really clean, and it would catch the seam allowance within the band. Or I could simply serge it like this part is just serged. We'll think about that. We're talking about buttons now. All right, so here's the thing. Here's like the band part. So let me get to the straightaway part. So you can take this band and I could put the black on top of the tan, because at the end of the day, you're gonna stitch these two down on top of each other. Sorry. So you can put the black on top of the tan, or I could put the tan on top of the black. Yeah, those are our options. Let me grab the buttons. All right, these are not all my buttons, but it is a good amount of buttons. Here and here. So here are the wood buttons I sort of talked about. They are a little bit lighter than this tan, which I don't know if I like that or not, but they could be a possibility. They're also a little big, but these buttons aren't functional anyway, so those are an option, but maybe not my favorite option. I also have these, which I think, wait, that's the wrong side. I have these, which I think are cute. Which I think are cute. I think that could work. See, and this is why I need to look more down. I think this could work on the tan side like this. I also think it could work on the black. It pops more on the tan though, doesn't it? I don't know. This could be an option. They might be a little small. Actually, this might be the only thing. No, these could sort of work, but I think it's too dressy. This gold shank button. And this one's crushed. Hold on, let me get a good one. Something like that could maybe work, but I think that's a little too dressy. This dress is more casual. So actually, out of all the buttons that I have in this, I think those are the only ones that would work. So let's move on to the other container. Here. So I have a lot of black ones here. These are the ones that I got from Fabric World as they were going out of business. These are probably like 2 brown, so not those. I feel like this could work with the tan. Let's pull one of those out. These I think are too big, but are just a nice basic black. Let's pull one of those out. This is a rounded square in black. That also might be too big. Y'all, how can I possibly have this many buttons and still maybe not buttons that work? I'm also sure that these are too big, but those would be cute. I'll pull one out, but I think that's too big. I pulled out one of the matte buttons. Let me also pull out one of these more shiny buttons. And then I have one more place to look. These are the bag of buttons that I never finished sorting through because I didn't have any more containers to put buttons in. Although most of these are smaller, although this little brown one could work. And this little, whoop, this is like a black one that could also work. It's a little bit smaller than the other black ones I just pulled out. You know what? Out of all these hundreds of buttons, those might be, I overestimated what I had. All right, so let's take a look at these on the black. If you did the brown on the black, that's actually not too big, but it doesn't really do anything. None of the black ones are going to do a lot on the black, but it's just showing you that if I went mono, how it would look. I think I actually like more of a contrast. That's the black matte button, which sort of like that. I sort of think if I want to do the tan on the outside, I want a black button, and if I want to do the black on the outside, I want a tan button. So here is one of the tan buttons that I think could work. Here's a, actually no, is that it? I guess that's it. I should have grabbed one of the wood buttons. Okay, so if I, sounding like I'm probably gonna put the tan on the outside now that I'm looking at my button options. So if I put the tan on the outside, this brown one is pretty big, but I feel like it could work. It brings in a little bit of the darker color because it's sort of tortoisey. This is the matte black one that definitely gives you high contrast on the tan. This is the little brown one that definitely gives you more of the mono look if I wanted that with the tan on the outside. That is actually sort of cute. Oh, sorry, this is the shiny black one. I don't think I like that one. I think I like the matte black one if I was going to go with the large black button. I think the matte looks a little bit better than the shiny. It might just be the glare of the camera. And then we do have the squared off black one, which I just like because it's square and I think that's fun. And then this is the smaller black one, which is just nice and basic, you know? So I don't know. Those are my button choices, unless I think of something else. Let me grab that wood button. And yeah, I fear that's just too light. Like even on the black, it pops, but then this would be the other side, and I don't know, I think that's too light. A darker wood button I think would have been great for this, and I really thought I had one, but I guess I don't. Or I use it for another project maybe. So yeah, these, hold on. see what I can do here. I think the black ones definitely look better on the tan. And I think the tan works on the tan, but it looks good on the black. This one, even though it is a little bit more brown, I think still works better on the tan side. So these are sort of the buttons I have to choose from. Hey Julian, I'm about to wrap up because I said I was going to end at 9 and it's almost 10. I'm trying to decide on buttons and whether I want the black band to be on the outside or whether I want the tan band to be on the outside. I think a contrasting button to the color makes more sense. So the tan, if I'm going to do black on the outside, black buttons if I'm going to do tan on the outside, and I'm leaning towards that. I just don't know. I think my favorites are this square button just because I think it's fun, or this black matte button because these aren't functional buttons anyway. Fold this under to the right width. Yeah. The black matte button I sort of like much better than the black glossy button. And this one also sort of works. It has the tortoisey brown with some darker shades in there that might work with the black on the other side. So I'm between the square, I think, the tortoise, and the black matte. I'm really leaning towards the black matte, and I don't know why. It's very simple, but I don't know. I feel like the matte makes it look a little bit more casual, and I think overall the dress is more casual in this rib knit. So I'm ending there tonight. I really wanted to get further along. What I have left to do is do this slowly-ish. What I have left to do is finish off the band, and I have to decide whether I'm going to fold that over and top stitch it so that I have a hidden sort of seam allowance there, or if I'm just going to serge the raw edges together, because that would also work. And then I need to add the sleeves, obviously, and then hem. And the reason why I'm not going to do the sleeves is because I don't really know if I want the sleeves to be the full length like on view A, which is what I cut because I knew I wasn't sure, or if I'm going to do like the half sleeve like on the model for view B, which I also really like, especially because hopefully it's about to start warming up. But this rib knit is so thin that I don't think the longer sleeve is going to prohibit me from wearing it in warmer weather. So I'm going to put this on my mannequin, which has another unfinished dress on it. Because I never sewed all the buttons. This will get sewn because these are faux buttons. The sad thing is that I actually sewed the buttonholes on that dress. So usually I'm delaying on the buttonholes. That's not even the case this time. So I think I'm going to do the tan over black like this. Just pinning it down enough so you can sort of get the vision. Yeah, something like that. No sleeves yet. It's not down. Okay, hopefully that lit it a little bit better. All right, so yeah, I don't need to leave this up here too long because it's going to stretch everything out, but I think that is giving you a basic idea of what this is going to look like in the end. Whether I do the square button, which honestly is sort of cute, or the matte black button, which I still think that's my favorite. I think this is going to be it. Can I pin that up here? Sort of. This is where if I had a true dress form that I could stick it in, you could see better. But I think either would work, honestly. But I think I'm going to go with the round. I'll save the square buttons for something else. I think I'm going to go with the matte black round. And for view, actually for both views, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons, because then you have like a little slit. So 6 buttons will probably get me to about here or so, and then it'll be like a split for the rest of the way. And I'm sure I have 6 of these buttons. I probably have 10. I think I called myself getting 10 of the bigger buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, okay, so I can use 6 of these. I'll have 4 left to use for something one day, maybe a blazer or something. Yeah. So anyway, that's where I'm going to stop tonight because it's pushing 10 and I'm tired. I have the sleeves cut. I just need to attach them on either side. I need to finish off the band facing on the inside, and then I just need to hem. I will put this on because I'm sure I'm going to have to take out a little bit in the hip because I don't really have hips. Yeah. So that may get a little bit of adjusting, and I need to decide if I'm going to keep this longer midi length or if I'm going to want to make it shorter. It probably is going to depend on what I do with the sleeves. It's going to be a balance of the sleeves and the length. So they have the half sleeve on the midi length, and they have the full sleeves on the short length. I don't know. I'm sort of leaning towards the half sleeve and maybe somewhere in between the midi because I'm about the height of my mannequin. And this is, see how long that is? I feel like I want it like maybe just below the knee, not like really mid-calf. That's what I'm thinking. We'll see what actually happens. So thank y'all for tuning in. Julian, thank you for coming back. Melody, thank you for watching. Catrice, thank you for checking in. I promise I'm going to get better and less awkward and be more prepared for these lives going forward. I do enjoy doing them. They take a little bit of the stress out of recording a video, trying to make it perfect, editing it, and getting it out to you guys. Because if I do it live, if I make a mistake, I just make a mistake. Last weekend, I effed up the serger thread. Today, I wasn't quite ready. I'm not finishing, and I just have to accept that. If I was doing this as like a recorded, edited video, I would push through and probably make more mistakes and get more frustrated, and then I wouldn't want to edit it because it would make me remember how frustrated I was while I was sewing it. So these lives help me. I also really like interacting with people, so I like being able to see the comments and answer stuff in real time. So hopefully, although I'm sure no one stayed the whole 2 hours, I really appreciate you watching. Any portion counts towards, like, you know, your YouTube totals and stuff. If you want to see more edited content, I have that. It's on the channel. Let me know in the comments what other patterns you'd like to see, if there's anything that you'd like to see me sew, if there's anything you want to sew with me, if there's any technique that you'd like me to walk you through if I can, if there's, you know, any more content, period. Like, you want to see more indie patterns, you want to see, you know, I don't know, more dresses, more summer, more spring, more swimsuits, more whatever, let me know and I will try to get you guys what you want. Check out my website, tipstitch.com. I have free patterns there. I have Indie Pattern Company Director there. I have some Learn to Sew stuff there. I'm working on adding to that. So yeah, just check me out. I'm Tipstitch at everything. TikTok, which I never get on, Instagram, here on YouTube, Substack, everything. Thanks for joining me, guys. Until next time, happy sewing.